Have you ever heard of this little game called Titanfall? It has a campaign, and today we're going to be reviewing it. So buckle up, buckaroos, we're reviewing the Titanfall campaign. There isn't too much to say about the Pilot's Gauntlet. It's mainly just like a starter mission to show you the movement and all the basic stuff. Nothing too special. But I do think it does a pretty creative job of putting you in a little simulation. But besides that, there's nothing really to say. Shows you the movement, double jump, sliding, aiming. The gauntlet is pretty cool, racing. I did a couple attempts, it was pretty fun. But besides that, that's really all there is in the Pilot's Gauntlet. I'd rate it a 5 out of 10, mainly because nothing really happens in the mission, and it's kind of boring just to learn all the mechanics that you probably already know if you've played Apex or the multiplayer or have already played it. But besides that, it's a really good mission. The visuals are surprisingly good, the tutorial is well explained, the gauntlet is fun, everything about this mission is good besides the fact it's boring. Moving on to the next entry. So, there's going to be a lot more to say about BT7274. So, if you're wondering why it's BT then some numbers, that's because that's the name of your Titan in this game. BT7274, which we're just going to call BT, he is your Titan. And you acquire him in this mission at the beginning. And you basically go have to get some batteries for him, like twice. Then you fight off bad guys and the mission ends. But it's kind of like a second tutorial mission because it shows you movement, it shows you more than just shooting targets and gunplay, and it kind of gives you a little taste of how the rest of the campaign will be. Very simple mission, but I do appreciate how much thought was put into the visuals and how there's a commander talking in the broken ship. I think the whole campaign is like this, but specifically this mission had a lot of details in it. The water was nicely textured, there was a body floating away when you wake up. It was really cool actually to see it for the first time, but since I've replayed it a couple times, it wasn't as cool anymore. I'd overall rate the mission a 7 out of 10 because, as always, visuals are beautiful. I like how the gameplay is executed. I like the task you have to do, it's interesting, but sadly, once again, sort of a tutorial mission, so it's kind of boring, but you still do way more stuff than the last one, so I bumped it up a bit. Moving on to the next entry. So, when I began to think of things to summarize this mission, the only things that came to mind were good things, because this mission is really good. First of all, the mission is very diverse in gameplay. You get to play as a Titan, you get to play as a pilot, you get to do wall running, shoot missiles, you get to do everything you want in a mission. One more thing that makes this mission great is that the previous two missions were a bit boring, so Spike and Entertainment really pushes this level up there. And another factor that makes this mission great is that it has a fun boss fight that can really complete the mission at the end, making it feel like a real mission other than like a tutorial section. And finally, the visuals give a certain feeling, I don't know how to describe it, but the way that you're going through this ventilation system, I guess, it's just really cool. It feels like you're infiltrating some site instead of being a worker there. It just gives off the right vibe. Overall, I'd rate this mission a 9 out of 7 because of just overall being a great mission. I don't think there's a single thing that I could think of that was bad out of it. It just wasn't great in every aspect. So, moving on to the next entry. One thing that stands out about this level is its amazing movement. It's just built for swift movement. The way all the walls you can slide on, it's really efficient and easy. Another thing that stands out about this level is Ash. Ash is the boss that you fight at the end of the level, and she's a really creative boss fight that isn't like any other boss fights in this game. Something else that isn't too great about this level is the gun selection. It is very dry. Earlier in this gameplay, you saw me using a grenade launcher. In no circumstance would I ever use a grenade launcher in this game because they suck, but I had to because I had no ammo in both of my guns. You basically just have to conserve your ammo and use the Titan a lot if you want to keep your good gun. One other thing that's good about this mission is the way you engage enemies. The way where they're placed and how you kill them is really creative and unlike other missions. The one downside, just to end this off, is that there isn't much Titan gameplay. You've probably seen, there's probably 3 times you played your Titan, and for most of the mission, the Titan's taken away. Which for me, personally, that's positive. I don't really like the Titan gameplay. But for you, you might like the Titan gameplay, and that might suck. But overall, I would rate this mission a 7 out of 10, because I would say it's overall a fun mission, but you don't get to see your Titan, and the guns really suck. And that's the main thing bringing it down and holding it back from being fun. Moving on to the next entry. The one major thing that sticks out about this level is the idea of the level, the time travel feature that you're seeing in the background. It's very fun to play around with, because later in the gameplay, you'll see that he gets this thing on his wrist which can control the time travel, which makes it infinitely more fun to play around with, and the way they implement it is great. Another thing about this is the visuals. You saw just then that you jumped down from a window. If you took a second to look at that, it was just really beautiful. And that's a good description of most of the level, besides when you're inside of the building. A third thing that's good about this level is the weapon selection. You get a flatline, you get a mastiff, you get so many guns that are just fun to play around with, especially with the squishy bodyguards of the building. And the one final thing that makes this mission just like the best mission overall is the progression. The progression of the mission is mostly you going up a building, and it's pretty cool to see you going through the areas of the building, going up an elevator, all this stuff. That's pretty cool. And you also collect items as you go, and you hear dialogue, which gives you a hint on actually what's going on. As you go through the level, you realize what happened to this broken down facility, and it adds a lot of meaning to the mission. I'd rate this mission a 9 out of 10, nearly perfect. But the only thing that makes this mission is those dumb-ass robots on screen right now. They're so annoying to kill, they literally bump it down to a whole point. Nearly perfect. Moving on to the next mission. So, some notable things about this mission are how it feels just like really long. There's like 5 parts to the mission that just feel like a different mission every time. At the beginning, where you're watching right now, there's a Titan battle where you're in a Titan and then you have to fight a Titan. Then you go inside, then fix the base, then you go out and fix the beacon. That's like 3 parts. It feels really long, which is an upside and a downside. A second part of the mission is there's a very memorable scene that you've probably seen before, even if you haven't played the campaign, and I'll put it on screen right now.
Got you.
Okay, that was a pretty cool scene, like the catching thing with the friendship building, whatever. But that leads to my third point, the friendship building in between you and BT. Your character gains a lot of trust for BT after you catch him, and that also builds on plot for my fourth point. It builds on plot, it shows that you guys are bonding and becoming like kind of friends. You're getting along. Overall, I'd rate this mission an 8 out of 10. It is a very, very good mission. I think it's very entertaining, very good, just barely doesn't beat out the last mission, affecting cars. Because I just think that there's so many minor flaws, like just some part of the mission is just kind of boring. But besides that, it's perfect. Really good. That's all I had to say for this mission. On to the next entry. I'm gonna be quick with this one because I'm running out of time. It's becoming like a long video. So basically, this mission sucks. It's bad, it's bland, it's a basic assault mission, nothing really fun about it. You're going around just killing the Titans, which Titan gameplay is just kind of bland in the first place. But it's even worse because you're basically stuck in a Titan the whole mission. Out of 10, I'd rate this mission a 5, because even though it's boring and bland, it's not tedious in any way. It's pretty short, if anything. So you don't have to suffer for that long. And that's why I give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on to the second last mission. So I'm going to be quick with this one as well, but basically, this mission is absolutely amazing. I love it. It's like an infiltration mission where you're seeing right now how you get thrown onto the ship, you take out the bad guys, you take over the ship, and then you fight Viper on the top of the ship. It's just like, the progression is great, the like infiltration aspect is so much fun, and just everything about it is great. Second or third best mission in the game. Probably tied for second place. I can't even decide on what place they are because all these missions are great. Out of 10, I'd rate this mission a 9. Tied with the Effect and Cause for first place because it's just so perfect in every way. The only thing is that it's a bit hard of a mission. It's a bit too hard sometimes. Where like you want to mess around and kill them in creative ways, but you're kind of forced to do it the normal way. But that's fine. Moving on to our final mission. This is the description of a good final mission. It has so much emotional value to the story. Like at the end when BT died, the first time I played the campaign, I genuinely cried. Like I actually was that sad. And also, what you're watching right now, it's like actually emotional. Like you actually feel like emotion when you're playing this final mission. And after all that you've been through, you actually care about BT and you want him to survive. And you see him die twice. It actually means something to the player. Out of 10, I'd rate this mission a 7, only because nothing really happens in the mission, but everything that happens is absolutely perfect. Now, moving on to the overall campaign review. The best way to describe the Titanfall 2 mission is all gameplay, no storytelling. Honestly, I couldn't really tell you what the story was about, even though I've played it 5 times, but I could tell you a description of about every mission, because the missions were memorable in their gameplay, not their story. It was fun to play through them and use the movement and kinda get bonded to the characters, but that was not that extreme. Like, even though I did get a bit bonded to BT, no one else really bonded with me. I never really liked Jack Cooper that much, and I didn't like any other character. They were all just kind of unlikable and basic. But the gameplay made up for it. Overall, I'd give the total Titanfall campaign a rating of 8 out of 10. The story is lacking. If there was a good story, instant 10 out of 10. Probably my favorite campaign I've ever played, even though I've only played 2 campaigns. Very fun, very entertaining to watch. I really like this campaign. I really like everything about it, besides the storytelling. It's kind of bad. So, that's all I had to say. Bye-bye.
Let's go! 'Cause I'm feeling like I'm running and I'm feeling like I gotta get away, but I know that I don't.